Hi, welcome to my PowerPoint presentation on Gustav Holst. I'm Silas Kugel, and this is Music 100 in December 2025. So Gustav's early life, he was born on September 21st, 1874 in Cheltenham, England. He was born to a poor family, but both of his parents played instruments as well as his grandparents. Everybody was very musical, so he was surrounded by music growing up. Now his mother did die when Gustav was just 8. So obviously that was very impactful for him at a young age, and also as a child he struggled with vision, breathing, and nerve issues. So pretty much just a smattering of health issues. But his asthma got a lot better because he played wind and brass instruments, which helped to strengthen his lungs and maybe influenced his love for music even. So Holst was very influenced by Mendelssohn, Grieg, and Sullivan, some other famous composers, and he became a musical apprentice. In 1892, he wrote his first operetta titled Lansdowne Castle. And after writing some more pieces, obviously he was still didn't have a lot of money at this point, but he earned a scholarship, and he was able to actually get a music education. And short after that, he wrote the Cotswold Symphony in 1900, and that was his first symphony. So when you think of Holst, or when I do anyway, I think his most famous piece is The Planets, which is a 7 movement orchestral suite that he composed from 1914 to 1916. And each movement from this suite represents a planet and an astrological or mythical archetype. So, for example, I'll show you in a minute, but Jupiter, the bringer of jollity, kind of makes you think of Jupiter as just a big, round, happy planet. And the movements also kind of reflect these moods that he associates with the planets. And in this suite, he pushes the boundaries of music at the time. So, for example, he uses 5/4, which was an unconventional time signature, or he uses unusual melodic deliveries and different techniques. There's this one movement, and I'm kind of forgetting which one it is, but at the end of it, they kind of fade out into nothingness, and that sort of reminded me of like the vastness of space. So here's just a little bit of Jupiter. I'm going to fast forward to maybe a little more. I want to get to the melody. Here we go. So anyway, as you can see, that's sort of a very like joyous. It's a big melody. They got the whole orchestra playing. It's very focused on the melody. It sounds really good. I think this is sort of like the tail end of that romantic era, and Holst is really leaning into that. Whoops. Okay, so during the war, which came a few years, well, kind of during while he was writing Planets and a little after, Holst was growing a name and he was exploring the boundaries of music. But he was unable to serve in World War One, partially because he was already 40 years old at that point, but also because of those health conditions that I was talking about earlier. But you can kind of see a shift in his music at and after this time. He wrote "Ode to Death" in 1919 after the war, and he based that on Walt Whitman's poetry. So if you listen to that, you can kind of hear how different it is from Jupiter, and you can see that tone shift through the war. In his later career, Holst switched away from that romantic style that we kind of heard just a second ago, and more. He sort of wrote darker and different music, some kind of neoclassical stuff, and a lot of his pieces from this time are inspired by war. Egdon Heath, I'm probably not saying that right, but that was one of the pieces that he was very, very proud of despite it being dark. So you can just kind of see how his mentality has shifted towards the end of his life. And here is that piece that I was talking about. I don't know if you can hear that. I'll fast forward a little bit. Yeah, still the same. Um, Whoops. Well, I don't know why it's skipping past that slide. But obviously, as you can tell, a very different tone shift from Jupiter, a lot more eerie, much darker than that sort of pompous melody that we heard just a second ago. Um, so, in his final years, obviously, Holst had all those health problems, but he had an ulcer in 1932. But even with that failing health, he was productive with his music, and he wrote the Brook Green Suite in 1933 for the all girls school that he was teaching at, um, which was meant to be playable for youth orchestras. And my high school orchestra played that piece, so I think that's very cool. And he had also been working on a new symphony when he died, and that symphony wound up only having one movement because he died before he could finish the other ones. But it is released, so you could listen to it, and it's included on the playlist. So Holst actually lived for about 18 months with the ulcer before deciding to seek surgery. They knew that surgery would be very risky because of those other health conditions, but they decided to do it anyway. He initially survived the surgery, but his heart was weak, and he passed away 2 days later. So he died on May 25th, 1934, at the age of 59, and he's buried at the Chichester Cathedral. And you can see over here, this is a picture of his memorial. Um, and it says, "The heavenly spheres make music for us," which is very fitting because he wrote that piece, all the pieces on the planets, which are the heavenly spheres. And I don't know why right now things are skipping ahead without me giving the okay, but his legacy, he was a transitional composer of romantic to the modern era, and you can kind of see that shift in his music as you listen to it. He's remembered as a fantastic and transformative teacher. You can see all those pieces that he made that are playable by youth orchestras. And he influenced modern movie music and composers like John Williams, who I've got a picture of there on the left, and Hans Zimmer. One connection that I think is really cool, if you listen to the opening of Mars from the planets, you can really hear how it sounds a lot like the Imperial March from Star Wars. So you can definitely see how it inspired modern composers. So this is my bibliography. Um, yeah. Oh, it's skipping. I don't know why it's skipping. I'm so sorry. But this is my playlist. I'm not going to go through all of it. It'll be included on the slideshow, so feel free to listen to that. But thanks so much for listening to my presentation. Yeah.